Alright, hey agents. So, for the Dream Team skill build support build, this is basically a variation of my sneaker build, which is linked right up above right now. And there should be a description, a link down below as well. I'll quickly go through this just to give the basics. This will be quick. So we're running the Technician Specialization. We're running this for the amp, which gives +1 skill tier. This means I can run armor or weapon damage as one of the core attributes someplace. I run armor in the mask, as you'll see in a second. It gives the +10% skill damage for the overclocked CPU, and the big one, it gives Faraday Field, which keeps your allies from being shocked or disrupted as long as they are within 5 meters of the sniper turret. So I'm always trying to proc Overwatch as quickly as I can, which I'll get into in a second, and then move into position and drop the sniper turret where both the tank and the DPS character are going to be. Getting into the weapons, ACRE assault rifle with spike, using the Surge named rifle with perfect spike, and the backup boomstick with preservation. We're running 4-piece hardwire. As I said, the mask, I rolled 170,000 armor onto for survivability. This only has 6% skill damage, but hopefully I'll get a better one at some point. I am running skill haste mods in every one of my slots. The rest of the hardwire, we got 10% damage on the holster. We have 10% damage on the knee pads. The backpack, of course, we are running for the 10% skill damage and the short circuit, which will decrease our feedback loop cooldown from 20 seconds to 10 seconds. So this means we can get our Seeker Mines back every 11.1 seconds, as you'll see. We're running 2 brand sets. We're running the gloves as China Light for the +15% explosive damage, skill damage, and skill haste. And the chest piece, we are running a Wyvern for the skill damage. We have skill damage and skill haste with the skill haste mod. And here's is the group buff. So this works in conjunction with the empathic resolve from the healer. And this is Overwatch. After staying in cover for 10 seconds, increases you and your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 12% as long as you remain in a cover-to-cover move. Cool thing about it is there's about a 1 to 1.2 second window where if you get bumped out of cover from an explosion, the enemy hits you, a teammate bumps you out, you just accidentally get out of cover. You could take cover within about a second, just over that, and it will not have to ramp back up. So that is pretty cool. The way that I play this is that I will, as soon as we're getting in an engagement, I will be taking cover immediately to start building up Overwatch so people's damage starts ramping. And then I'll do a cover-to-cover move to try to place the sniper turret wherever the DPS character or the tank character want to be set up. That way I have fire for support on them, as well as it gives them the Faraday field so that they will not have their skills disrupted, nor will they be able to be shocked. So that's pretty much how this works. Quickly to go over the 2 skills. The Seeker Mines have a 29-second cooldown. Doesn't even matter, as you guys know. Hardwire will make that as anytime I place the turret. Base damage is 2.8 million, 10 mines. PvP damage is over 500,000, so that's cool. And then our turret, 11.1 second cooldown, 5.6 million health, 2.8 million base damage, 15 ammo. I want it specifically, this sounds funny, I want it specifically at 11.1 seconds. And the reason why is Hardwire has a 10-second cooldown. Because of the lag in the game and the way it's set up, I don't want my cooldown right at 10 seconds. I want to make sure that every time I pull out my sniper turret, that I pull out my Seeker Mines. And one way that I make sure I do that is to maintain my cooldown between 11 and 11.5 seconds. So while I could get a little more skill haste, get a better mod and stuff, I wouldn't want it any more than 11 seconds. Specifically to make sure that I have my Seeker Mines. If I screw up the cycle, then it really screws everything up. My DPS drops down significantly. That's about it. So this one is all about the Overwatch. Oh, and the last thing is, of course, Overwatch and the Empathic Resolve stack on top of each other. So not counting the Overcharge, let's just say at tier 6, that's 13% from Empathic Resolve and 12% from Overwatch. So that's 25% weapon and skill damage to your entire team just by having these two do their job. Alright guys, thanks for checking out the skill build. Next we'll move on to the tank. Alright guys, now the Dream Team tank. At first glance this will seem similar to a lot of other shield builds you guys have seen, but upon closer inspection you'll notice this is way off of the meta. Instead of starting with the specialization, I'm going to just start with the gear, and once we get down to the shield, then I'll go over the specialization. You guys will see why then. So first off, the weapons. The weapons are set around two things. One, we're using the Liberty, and this is to be able to heal the shield. Gain a stack on each hit up to 30, and headshots consume all the stacks, repairing the shield for 3% per stack, so that is up to 90%. So say on the Bulwark shield, which has, in this case of this, we have over 13 million. We're getting, 12, or a little over 12 million shield health back if we stack up all 30 shots and then get a headshot. And this is really powerful. This actually makes the Bulwark almost an indestructible shield. Moving on to the weapons, so you won't use these so much if you do use the Bulwark, but if you use either the Striker Shield, the Striker Shield is the other one of the variants we'll talk about in a second. So you could, of course, use these, but you'll use these more if you do use the Striker. The Savage Wolverine, I use as the primary weapon with perfectly up close, killing a target within 7 meters grants 38% weapon damage for 10 seconds. So this just helps me to mow dudes down faster. But what I really like is if I like the Grudge high-end named submachine gun for Perfect Vindictive, and that's if one of the enemies is on fire, blind, bleeding. I can quickly whip this out, hope to get a kill, and if I do, killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and all allies within 20 meters 18% crit hit chance and 18% crit hit damage for 20 seconds. So this is one of the ways that each one of these builds I wanted somebody to add to the damage somehow. So this is one of the ways that the tank can lend damage to the other teammates. Alright, so moving on, now we'll talk about the gear. One thing to note is despite running a full 4-piece hardwire set, you'll notice we are running 6 blues. That means I re-rolled every single core attribute on hardwired from skill tier into armor. 170,000 armor in each case. Now, this is not min-maxed by any means, and if I were to actually focus on min-maxing this build, I would want in the attributes to either get skill haste to help bring the shield or the hive back faster in case the cycle gets messed up, or I would want hazard protection to protect me more from the hazards, so that if I'm burning on fire, I can still hold my ground and do my reviving where necessary. So to quickly go through that, so we got the mask with armor, and I got skill damage, but you would want hazard or haste, skill haste mod. We got the holster with armor, the knees with armor, the gloves with armor, and these ones at least have skill haste on them. Alright, so now the two named pieces. This is where we start delivering to the team utilizing the shield. The first one, we have a 511 backpack that the brand set adds plus 10% health. If possible, you want armor regen on here. I would have put health to crit hit chance, but I don't mind crit hit chance at all. That helps with the Grudge. And the two mod slots, I have two defensive mod slots. One is a 13% protection from elites, and one's this 12%. So the two of those gives me 25% additional protection from elites, which helps me to stand my ground. The big reason we're running this is for the talent Protector. When your shield is damaged, you gain plus 5% bonus armor, and all other allies gain 15% of your armor as bonus armor for 3 seconds. After that, there's a 3-second cooldown. So 50% of the time I'm taking damage, my teammates get 15% bonus armor for 3 seconds. And what that is at 1.8 million, that's 270,000 armor. So think about half the time you get 270,000 blue armor that's not even your own armor, that's just there. So that's pretty awesome. And the crown jewel to this build, the Point Man named Gilligard chest piece. This gives plus 5% total armor. And considering how high my armor is, that 5%, I mean, that's close to probably 500,000 bonus armor right there from that plus 5%. Unfortunately, this is the one spot where I do not have a max roll on the core attribute. So I probably would be about 1.9 million if I had 170k instead of 140k. This did get the max armor regen roll, which was huge. That was the most important thing to me. And then I don't know what I rerolled that hazard protection for, but yeah, max hazard protection right there to stand my ground. 13% protection from elite mod. And then the big money, perfect Vanguard. And this is what brings it all together, and this is what makes the DPS character really be able to do his DPS. And that's all based around him using the Intimidate talent on the chest piece. We'll get into that next, but perfect Vanguard. Deploying a shield makes it invulnerable for 5 seconds and grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies for 20 seconds. And the cooldown is 25 seconds, but it starts immediately. So that means 80% of the time I'm able to provide my allies 900,000 bonus armor. And when you think of that, let's just real quick, let me look at all my other builds here. Let's take a look. So this one, 681,000 armor. Okay, here's one. Here, this one actually has an armor piece. 856. Rarely does anybody run over 1 million. So you got to consider the fact that 900,000 bonus armor plus 270,000 bonus armor, right? So that's well over 1 million bonus armor over half the time. So this build is almost more than the medic. This provides survivability. But between the two of them, there's so much survivability and so much healing and so much damage buffing. So anyway, let me get on to the skills. So the big one is we're just running a revive hive, and this is to make sure that we can bring dudes up. We're not going to count. The medic is going to be too busy keeping dudes healed and buffed with empathic resolve. So we're going to be in charge of reviving. We are at skill tier 1, right? It's 0. Skill tier 0. So we have absolutely no bonuses other than the skill haste that is in the gear. So refill speed, 178, doesn't matter. Hardwire, we get 1 charge back every 20 seconds if we drop and redeploy the shield. Health, the only reason the health matters, let's take a look at the mods real quick actually. So we got 9.7% reviver armor repair. So that means the revive armor is at 35% when they get revived, which can help them to get into cover. 9.1 health helps this to survive in case I go down and I happen to be in fire or some other hazard. This will help to keep the Reviver Hive alive long enough to bring me back up. And last, we went with the radius, and this makes it easier for me to toss it in somebody's general direction and to either hit them directly or to make it so they can climb into the hive radius. So now let's quickly talk about specializations, because there's 2 different shields you can run. You can run the Bulwark Shield that everybody's familiar with. In fact, let's just talk about that real quick. So the Bulwark Shield in both, no matter what specialization we're running, is the same. It's got a 15-second cooldown, a little over 13 million health. In this form right now, because of the mods we have, because of Firewall, it has a little more health, but don't worry about that. It basically doesn't even make a difference. 180,000 active regen, 180,000 holster regen. So that's the Bulwark Shield. And this is the tank shield. This is what I'll use most of the time for legendary, simply because it takes more damage. But if you can play smart, then you can use the Firewall Striker Shield, and this is how you buff your team. Striker Shield's a modified version of the Crusader Shield, which allows you to use both the the flamethrower, as well as the Grudge, or the Savage Wolverine, or whatever weapon you're using. But here's the big thing. So, in addition, the Striker Shield boosts the damage of the user and all allies behind them based on the number of enemies in front of the shield. And the damage bonus per enemy is 12%, buff angle 45. So this is one way to additionally buff the damage of your damage dealers. So, and notice that it boosts the damage of the users and all allies behind them based on the number. That's damage bonus. That's not weapon damage. That's all damage. So, if you have the guy with the shield standing up in front and the skill user puts his sniper turret right there and is hanging out within that buff angle range, that's additional damage buff for him as well, not just the weapon damage guys. So something to consider right there. There's a whole lot of strategic positioning, and this is why I call it the dream team, is you got to have a team that really trusts each other and everybody knows their position and sticks to it regardless of the situation, and trusts in the team to do their job. So this is the deal with this shield. It only has 4.7 million health, so that means, and it only covers the top half of the body, so you still have to take you got to stand behind cover so your legs are concealed. You can only take 4.7 million before the shield goes down. Now you can take cover and quickly drop the Hive, which will immediately reset the shield. So you can pull the shield back out, pick up the Hive. But at that point, Hardwire has been procced, and you have a 20-second cooldown because we're not using Short Circuit on the backpack. So that means you have 20 seconds until you're able to proc your next shield. So if your shield goes down, then all of a sudden, all the advantages of the tank disappear almost immediately until the cooldown is up. And you'll notice one of the issues is, where's the cooldown? Oh, cooldown. Well, the cooldown's only 15 seconds, so the cooldown on the shield is not too bad if it does go down. So let's talk about the specializations. So in order to get this shield running the Striker, and what that also gives us access to is cluster grenades, 30% health on kill, an armor kit that repairs 200% armor and health over 10 seconds. So it can be beneficial if you know you're going to get flanked or take a lot of damage. You can proc this, and then it starts healing you as you back up slowly with your shield. Of course, it gives us access to the Striker shield itself. Allies deal 10% damage to enemies that are within 10 meters of myself. 30% bonus armor during a cover-to-cover move, not really applicable in this build. On armor break, apply burn to enemies within 5 meters. That can be beneficial at times, but not a huge deal. Okay, and now let's go ahead and switch to the gunner. All right, so yeah, I'll just go over the mods first. So 5% damage bonus per enemy, 4.7 shield health, and 4.1 active regen. 15-second cooldown. If we look at the gunner, what benefits do we get here? Killing an enemy grants 10% armor. Every third reload is 50% faster. Armor kits repair 100% armor and grant 30% bonus armor for 10 seconds. This is a big one, actually, in some of the harder content. Generate 10% of total ammo capacity every 60 seconds, and all party members receive 5%. So that can help to make sure your DPS character keeps ammo and doesn't have to go restock in tight situations. Barrage, rate of fire increased by 5% on kill for 5 seconds. This actually works really well in conjunction with the Savage Wolverine and a 38% weapon damage bonus. Emplacement, 50% weapon handling while not moving. A lot of times, we'll just move into one particular place and just stand there, so that way the DPS character can actually use us as cover. So this can be beneficial there.
Watch that armor.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
That shield?
Agent down. An agent needs assistance. Agent down.
Stay away.
Alright, that's pretty much it. And next, we will get on to just the basic ideas of the DPS character.